Welcome back to Psychedelic Divas. I'm your host, Carla Detchen, and today we're going somewhere a little unexpected. We're going into my closet. So, what do psychedelics and fashion have to do with each other? And why should you listen if you don't care about fashion? These are two very valid questions. But this episode isn't really about fashion. It's also about identity, clearing stuck energy, igniting the fire horse energy we talked about back in episode 32, and why, for about the last 30 years, I've been cleaning my closet on LSD. So let's start at the beginning. Anybody who knows me in person knows that I love fashion. I love clothing and jewelry. I love putting outfits together. I especially love dark, rich, jewel tone colors, velvets, faux fur, textures. I've been collecting clothes in that vein for a long, long time. And I got that love of fashion from my mom. Shopping was her love language. She would take my sister and me to the mall, and we would walk and talk and connect and say, "Oh, do you like this? What about this going with that?" Those were actually some of my favorite memories growing up, connecting with my mom in that way. It was collaborative, it was creative, it was fun, and it wasn't stressful. And that wasn't always the case with everything we did together. So it was really special and bonding. I have two very specific early memories that I think are very telling about where my fashion sense was headed. The first, I was around 8, and we were shopping at Sears for back to school clothes in the 70s. And I came across what I thought was the most amazing outfit I had ever seen in my life. I don't remember every detail, but it was super colorful. It had little glittery coins hanging off of it. There was a vest, a layered skirt in multiple colors. It was basically a gypsy outfit. And I was entranced. And my mother looked at it and crinkled her nose and said, no, that looks cheap." I was slightly devastated, and I put it back on the rack. And now, while I know for certain she was right, but it gives you a little window into the direction my imagination was already going, which was not your standard back to school, off the rack look. The second memory, same era, early 70s, back at Sears. And you need to know that I grew up in South Florida, and they had just come out with the first faux fur jackets. And this is a very, very early iteration, y'all. Big, fluffy, and absolutely way too hot to ever wear in Florida. But we had relatives up north, and I asked my mom if I could have one. And she said yes. And my sister got one too. And I was ecstatic. And we probably wore them 2 or 3 times before we sadly outgrew them. But oh my God, did I love that jacket. And it was, of course, just a foreshadowing of my current love of all things textured, furry, velvety, and exotic. My whole aesthetic was already in there, just waiting. So shopping was my mother's love language, and I inherited it. And I've carried that love my whole life. I love walking through stores, touching things, looking at colors and patterns and textures. It's always been one of the ways I make art. I don't paint or sculpt, but my clothing has always been one way that I can be creative. Fast forward to San Francisco, where I lived for 20 years after college. Every single time I decided to move to a new apartment, my number one criterion was, is there going to be a big enough closet in this old Victorian? And then I moved to Marin, and I met my husband, Tim, and we started talking about living together. Now, our house is small, And it was already full of his stuff. And so one morning, we were at my apartment where I lived before I moved in here. And he got up. And I had this wall of closets in my apartment, the sliding doors with mirrors. And he slid one door open on one side, and he looked inside, and he closed it. And he walked to the other side, and he slid it open, and he looked inside, and he closed it. Both sides, very full. And then he started pacing it off, measuring the square footage. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, if we ever do live together, I'll have to build you a closet." And I just want to say that that is the most romantic thing any man has ever said to me. And that is a large part of why I married him. We did indeed move in together, and sure enough, he built me a closet. He had maybe 5 feet of closet space in this house, total, and it was full. So he built me an 8x8 room, an empty shell, all mine. And that closet has been stuffed from day one. Not only does it hold my clothes and shoes, but when I first moved in, we didn't have any additional storage that was safe from critters. And we live on a mountain, so there are critters. So paper files went in there, fabrics, all the things I needed to keep safe and dry. And over the 19 years of living here, I have cleaned out that closet multiple times. I have a dear girlfriend who hosts what she calls sex pot clothing swaps, meaning you don't bring your dog walking clothes or your office clothes. You bring your good stuff to swap with your girlfriends. So I have absolutely moved things in and out through those parties. Things have definitely flowed through that closet over the years. But recently, I have been way too busy, and the flow stopped. And the floor filled with projects and stuff that needed processing or dealing with. And the energy got stucker and stucker. And to be honest, I would have been so embarrassed if anyone had looked in there, because it was a hot mess. It was way past time for a deep cleanse. Now, for those of you who have been following along with the podcast, by the way, thank you. I love you. You might remember back in episode 32, my conversation with Tracy T about the year of the fire horse, which is the Chinese New Year energy we are currently in. And I talked about not feeling ready for that hot, fast, go, super energized energy. I was still very much in last year's Chinese year of the wood snake. I was moving slow, shedding. I was in internal energy. In that episode, I said I was not ready for the fire horse yet. I felt like it was going to drag me rather than me being able to successfully ride it. The truth is, I have been way too busy for the last several years. I create my own schedule, and I had somehow created a schedule that had me completely overwhelmed. Like 16,000 emails in my inbox, 9,000 of them unread. Not an exaggeration. Too many clients and events and groups and travel. And I loved it all, and I was dropping balls. I was in the, it's too much, everything is happening all at once place. I did not need or want a fire horse running through my world at that point. So the universe, with a little help from me, created 6 weeks of spaciousness, all of June and the first 2 weeks of July. Clients cut way back, nothing I had to lead, nothing I had to create. Well, except this podcast. 6 weeks of spaciousness to breathe and get caught up and clear. So the first couple days of June, I just didn't want to do anything. I had come off a big, fun, exhausting Memorial Day weekend. I was recovering, and I just needed to not. So I gave myself that. And then I settled in, meditated, and I asked my guides, okay, tomorrow is wide open. What would you like me to do? And they had a very clear answer. Hey, fellow explorers. Thoughtful planning and preparation is the foundation of any successful psychedelic journey. And if something does go wrong, knowing how to navigate that difficult space is essential. That's why I wrote my psychedelic safety guide, including what to do when things go wrong. It's filled with tips and tools for keeping you and your friends as safe as possible. You'll find it at our website, psychedelicdivas.com. Please, go get it, read it, and share it. The more we all know, the safer we can keep each other. They actually said, and I love this, we don't think you'll do it, but what we think you should do. And then they told me to take an exceptionally large dose of LSD and clean my closet. Now, I'm not going to name the dose they recommended because dosing is deeply personal and specific to each individual, and that's a whole other conversation. But this was a big dose for me. I was like, are you kidding? And my response was, I'll do half of that, which was still a significant dose. And that's what I did. Now, before I explain why LSD is my closet cleaning tool, let me back up and explain how I got started doing this in the first place. The first time was probably 30 years ago in my cute one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco. I had a good-sized walk-in closet and a big linen closet with shelves for sweaters, linens, and other things. I think I must have originally decided I was just going to do some LSD at home, and I was just wandering my space, and I ended up in the closet, and I just started purging with absolute clarity. And that was it. I was hooked on this as a practice. Here's the thing about closet cleaning, or garage cleaning, or basement cleaning, or whatever space you're tackling. There are basically 3 categories of stuff. The first is the easy yes. You love it, it fits, it looks great on you, it has a place where it lives, you use it all the time. Okay, done, keep it. The second is the easy no. It doesn't fit, it doesn't look good, you're done with it, it doesn't fit in your space, no hesitation. All right, bye-bye. Those 2 are relatively fast. What holds everybody up is the middle ground. That's where all the landmines are. Well, this was expensive. My mother, or my sister, or my friend gave it to me. I thought I could be the kind of person who wears this. Maybe I'll wear it someday when I lose weight or find the right thing to go with it. It was my grandmother's. It looks okay, kind of. I think most of you know what I'm talking about and have some version of that whole conversation in your head. Here's the thing. All those stories equal stuck energy. But when you put something on and stand in front of a mirror on LSD, everything gets clear. It's a yes or it's a no. Oh, that looks great. Or, God, no, what were you thinking? Or, that used to look good, but it's no longer you. The middle ground collapses, and the stories fall away. The clarity is just there. And LSD specifically versus, say, mushrooms, has this clean, focused energy. It's an upper. It has a let's get this done, let's get this moving quality. Mushrooms are more like, hey, let's just hang out and chill. But LSD has this visioning quality where you're very clear about who you are and who you want to be. And that combination is exactly what closet cleaning needs. And now I need to warn you that it can also be quite chaotic because LSD is like having an ADHD brain. So I often find myself pulling everything off a shelf, onto the bed or floor, and then I get distracted by another shiny project, and then I move over and do something else. So you need to give yourself time and space to go through it all and clean up the mess afterwards. Luckily, acid lasts for a good 8 hours. In my early coaching days, my practice was called Inner Diva, and I offered what I called Diva Days, a set of 3 full coaching days. You could do 1, 2, or all 3. And what we were creating was your inner diva, the divine feminine representation of you. And we manifested it through your closet. So the first day was about creating a mood board. Back then, we didn't have Pinterest, so we did it with magazines, pulling out colors, textures, clothing, jewelry, whatever looks that made the client feel the way they want to feel and be and express themselves in the world. The question was, when you're really inhabiting your inner diva, your inner divinity, when you're fully shining and sparkling as the goddess you are, what does that look and feel like? What are the colors, the textures, the vibe? How do you want to show up in the world? What was always interesting was that people would always discover a consistent aesthetic calling to them that they hadn't quite named before. The second day, and I did this sober, not with LSD, just to be clear, I would come over and we would clean the closet together. Not as an organizer, as a coach. Because those easy yeses and nos, you don't need me for those. What I was there for was the messy middle place, full of all those stories and doubts and stuck energies. And when we would hit those stuck places, we would refer to the vision board we had created and see if the piece of clothing in question matched the board or not. And when it didn't, it made it super easy to let go of. Once you create the vision that you want, it's easy to see what doesn't match it. I worked with one sweet client. She was a larger woman, and as a result, clothes had always been hard for her. What she would do was find something that fit and looked decent and buy it in 3 or 4 colors. So her closet was pretty bland and pretty basic. She didn't want to stand out because she didn't love her body. And she really didn't love herself at that point in her life. Although she did eventually come to love herself through our work together. So we're going through the closet, and she pulls out a shapeless black dress. And I said something like, do you love it? And she goes, no, but I might need it to go to a funeral. Okay, fair enough. We kept going. By the time she pulled out the 5th shapeless black dress with the exact same excuse, I just looked at her and said, do you know a lot of old people? Because we are not keeping all of these just in case you need to go to a funeral. And then I said, this closet is for the living. She kept one. The third day, once the vision board was done and the closet was cleared, we go shopping together and find one essence outfit, one thing that truly represented what the client was calling in. Something that said, this is my inner diva. This is how I want to show up. And oh my God, I had so much fun with my clients doing this. All of this, the vision board, the closet coaching, the shopping, it's always been the same work for me at its core. Helping women find what makes them feel good. Not just look good. What makes them feel good? What helps them show up in their power? What makes them sparkle and shine? That has always been my work in the world, whether it's coaching or this podcast or helping someone revamp their closet. I'm here to bring forth the divine feminine in all of us and help it shine. And what that looks like is completely different for every single person. So, back to earlier this month. My guides laid the date out clearly. I was supposed to get up, meditate, shower, hot tub, take the dose by 10 in the morning, and then get clearing. And that's exactly what I did. And you know what happened? I got on that fire horse. I have never deep cleaned my closet to that level. And I didn't do it in one day. I did it over multiple days in a row because I have a large closet and there's a lot in there. Not just clothes, just stuff, old iterations of who I am. That thing I thought I might want to do someday. Burning Man gear. Just so many layers of who I have been that wasn't necessarily who I am right now. Each day, I take the dose and I dive back in again. The energy it gave me, the clarity, the momentum, it put me on that fire horse in a way I had been resisting for months. I just knew what to do. And here's the funny thing. I had been in the hot tub that morning, mentally making a list of clothing that I was sure I was getting rid of. Oh, that's definitely going, I thought. And when I actually put a couple of those things on, they looked back at me and said, "We're not going anywhere." In fact, I wore a pair of pants out to dinner that night that had been on the Purge list, and they looked awesome. I had a sweater and a skirt lying on top of each other in the giveaway pile. And when I looked at them together, I realized they would look so cute together, so they both went back in. Which brings me to the whole, if you haven't worn it in a year, get rid of it rule. That is just not how I operate. I have things in my closet that I love, and I might not wear for 5 years. But when I want them, they're there. My life involves a lot of creative, sacred, costumey kinds of events. I'm not wearing that stuff every day, but I want it in my closet for when those events happen. That's why I have a big closet. Now, for those wondering what happens to everything that's leaving, it's going out into the world intentionally. I have a bag for a couple of my favorite teenagers. The little midriff tops, the things I might have worn when I was younger, those are going to them. I have a bag for a girlfriend who can wear things that are running a little large on me. And I have a bag for the next sex pot clothing swap. The good stuff going back into circulation among the women I love. And I have a very specific bag of individual pieces that the acid literally told me to give to specific people. Like, this one is for her, that one is for her. And we'll see how right the acid was on those when I see these women and deliver these gifts. And anything left over goes to women's shelters. Everything that flows out goes somewhere intentional. I want to acknowledge I am fully aware that this is a first world privilege. Having this amount of clothing is not everyone's reality. But I'm genuinely so grateful to be able to share things I've loved with people I love. And because I've never really been a fashion of the moment person, I've had some of these pieces for decades. I buy quality when I can, so what I'm passing on or keeping is actually good. They're things worth having. Okay, so this is maybe an interesting story, but the reason I made this into a podcast is because of what got unlocked way beyond the closet. As I was doing this work over multiple days, I could feel things shifting in all aspects of my life. The energy channels opening up, my creativity coming back online, the sense that everything was freely flowing. My guides, as it turned out, were absolutely right that this needed to happen first, because this clearing was core. My closet is the foundation of how I want to be and how I want to show up in the world. When it's clear, spacious, organized, and when everything in there is something I genuinely love, everything else flows from that space. Years ago, I read a beautiful book by Karen Kingston called Creating Sacred Space with Feng Shui. Learn the art of space clearing and bring new energy into your life. In that book, one of the chapters is about clearing clutter out of the space first. But what was happening in the first edition, she wrote, was that people couldn't get their clutter cleared, so they never moved on to finish the book, and their space remained stuck and not sacred. So she then wrote an entire book called Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui. And it is the best book I've ever read on the subject. In it, she teaches that everything we own is energetically connected to us, like a vast spider web. So when we think we can just hide things under the bed, or in the back of the closet, or in a paid storage locker, it's not out of sight, out of mind. These things are still pulling on us energetically, weighing us down, calling to us, keeping us stuck. When I first read that years ago, it really landed for me. And I know that when I'm stuck psychically, afraid to move to the next level, that's when my outer world gets cluttered. And that's what happened with my closet over the past however many months. I'm being called to my next iteration of growth and leadership, and I wasn't fully ready. Parts of me were in full resistance, and I knew it, and it took some time to clear. And as I struggled with my internal resistance, my external world took an energetic hit as well, which is how my closet and email inbox ended up being in such a sad state. I had done a lot of the internal clearing, and now it was time to jumpstart the overall energetic clearing with my closet. Here's why I'm sharing all this with you. Cleaning my closet was the beginning of an amazing cascade of movement. As I cleared, it was like my brain and body were mirroring the work I was doing in my closet. I got the message to give up alcohol and refined sugar until the end of the year in order to lower internal inflammation levels. Now, I have a wicked sweet tooth, and giving up refined sugar in the past has been hard. But this time, I got the message, and my body just reset. I swapped out our nightly chocolate chip cookies for 2 dates instead, and I haven't had any cravings. Same with the alcohol. Now I've already limited how much I drink, but this just took the rest off the table for now. Again, no cravings or feelings of missing out. But that's not all. I'm going to yoga 2 or 3 times a week. I hadn't been doing yoga regularly in a long, long time. And now I'm just there with zero resistance. I've already been going to the gym and walking the dog, and now yoga on top of that. We've been wanting to paint our bedroom, and I finally moved that project forward and chose a color and scheduled the painter. Other parts of the house are getting cleared and changed. To-do lists are getting accomplished. I can feel the manifestation happening. I can feel the creativity flowing. I can see the stuff moving out of our home. I came out of a place of genuine overwhelm. Too many emails, too much on my plate, not enough space and time to get stuff done. And now I am in flow, like genuinely, deeply in flow. And it all started with the closet and a large dose of LSD. When the closet is finished, I am moving into the bathroom with the same deep clearing energy. And then, when I'm back from traveling in July, I'm moving into my office. And I am on the fire horse. Finally. It feels so good to be clear and in motion and not in resistance to what I'm here to do. In July, I'm spending 2 weeks in Europe. 4 days in Stockholm doing a little shamanic ancestral deep dive. And then 9 days in Estonia at an event called Mind Valley University, where thousands of personal growth junkies come to live and work in a town together with lectures and Burning Man level parties. So I'm sure to have some good reports from that in my fall podcast. If you're on my email list, you've already seen the photo of the IKEA bags going out the door. It's on Instagram as well, at Psychedelic Divas. The completed closet photo isn't ready, so I'm going to wait until it's really done before posting that. And I would genuinely love to hear from you. Have you ever tried cleaning your closet, or your garage, or your kitchen with psychedelic support? Did you try a different medicine? What was your experience? That middle ground, those hard decision places, how did you work through it? I'd love to hear your stories. All right, Diva family. Thank you so much for being here. I hope something in this landed for you, whether it's the closet idea, the vision board idea, or just the reminder that clearing your outer world really does clear your inner world. They are the same thing. Oh, and if you want to see what I'm wearing in all these episodes, check out our YouTube channel, at Carla Detchen, or just search for Psychedelic Divas. Sending you all so much love. Thanks for listening. And thanks in advance for those 5-star reviews. All right. Bye-bye.